On a quiet Halloween night, the wind howls through the empty streets of Haddonfield. In the shadows, a figure lurks, his white mask gleaming in the dark. Michael Myers, a name that has haunted the town for decades, a name that brings fear and death wherever it is spoken. Tonight, he returns. His cold, lifeless eyes search for new victims, and once again, the blood will flow. This is not just a story. These are 3 terrifying true tales of Michael Myers. And on this night, no one is safe. Story 1. The horrific Halloween night. In the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, known for its quiet streets and charming homes, an event occurred one fateful Halloween night that would forever change this peaceful place. Michael Myers, just 6 years old at the time, committed a horrific act that would haunt his family and the town forever. On that night, as everyone was preparing for Halloween, Michael suddenly grabbed a kitchen knife and walked up to his sister Judith's room. No one could have imagined why a child would commit such a cold-blooded crime. Wearing a mask on his small face, Michael mercilessly stabbed Judith to death. When the police arrived, they found a small boy standing silently in a pool of his sister's blood, with empty eyes behind the emotionless mask. From that moment on, Michael Myers was no longer an ordinary child. He became the embodiment of a nightmare. After the murder, Michael was sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium under the close supervision of Dr. Loomis, who believed that Michael wasn't just a typical mentally disturbed boy, but something far worse, an evil in human form. Despite years of research and attempts at treatment, Loomis always sensed that Michael was beyond recovery. His soul was like a bottomless pit, devoid of remorse and emotion. On another Halloween night, nearly 15 years after his confinement, Michael escaped from the sanitarium. No one knew where he went until it was discovered that he had returned to Haddonfield, the town where he once brought terror. Wearing the same emotionless white mask and armed with a kitchen knife, Michael began his random killing spree. He didn't target specific victims. He simply appeared and murdered anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. The entire town was thrown into chaos as people went missing or were brutally slain. Without any warning or clear motive, Michael Myers returned like a demonic ghost to Haddonfield. His story became a chilling legend, and his name was forever associated with brutal crimes and the most terrifying Halloween night in the town's history. Story 2. Nightmare at the Hospital. After surviving Michael Myers' horrific attack on Halloween night in Haddonfield, Laurie Strode, one of the few survivors, was taken to the hospital for treatment. However, just when she thought she had escaped the clutches of death, her nightmare was far from over. In the darkness of Halloween night, Michael, with his inhuman strength and relentless rage, followed Laurie's trail to the hospital, determined to finish what he had started. As Michael arrived at the hospital, he silently slipped inside, unnoticed by anyone. The chaos and fear from the previous massacre worked to his advantage. Nurses, doctors, and security guards were all unaware that they were about to become the next victims of an unstoppable killer. In the eerie, dimly lit hallways of the hospital, Michael methodically eliminated one person after another without resistance. A hospital, normally a symbol of safety and healing, now became the backdrop for a night of death. The long, silent corridors were filled only with the agonizing screams of the dying. The heavy, slow footsteps of Michael echoed through the empty rooms. The flickering lights added to the growing sense of dread and terror. Laurie, still wounded and exhausted from her earlier battle with Michael, had to confront the terrifying truth. Michael had come back for her. With each passing minute, her chances of survival grew slimmer as Michael drew closer. The confrontations inside the operating rooms, recovery areas, and deserted hallways made Laurie feel like she was being hunted by an invisible predator. It wasn't just a fight for survival against Michael. It was a test of her will to live amidst overwhelming fear. In the hospital's darkened corridors, Laurie had to use everything at her disposal to protect herself. But could she escape death's grip once more when Michael Myers seemed impossible to stop? Story 3. The Myers Family Curse. Years after Michael Myers' gruesome killing spree, the town of Haddonfield still hadn't fully recovered. Mysterious stories about Michael's origins began to surface, leaving the town's residents shaken. A deeper investigation into the Myers family history revealed terrifying truths. The Myers family wasn't just an ordinary bloodline, they were tied to ancient rituals and dark curses. Generations before, the Myers family had been haunted by an evil entity. Dark rituals meant to summon supernatural forces were performed, and many believed that Michael Myers was the product of one of these ancient rites. A curse was said to have been passed down through generations of the Myers family, transforming one family member into an embodiment of uncontrollable evil and violence. Researchers and detectives who delved into the Myers family's dark past met with tragic ends. Some disappeared without a trace, while others died under mysterious circumstances. The shadow of Michael Myers wasn't limited to the town of Haddonfield. It reached out to anyone who sought the truth about him. Michael wasn't just a cold, emotionless killer. He was a supernatural force, a killing machine fueled by dark powers beyond understanding. Despite countless efforts to understand Michael Myers, no one could fully explain the source of his strength and apparent immortality. The curse of the Myers family had cast a long, ominous shadow over generations, and Michael Myers, with his emotionless white mask and deadly knife, continued his killing spree, unstoppable by any means. The confrontations inside the operating rooms, recovery areas, and deserted hallways made Lori feel like she was being hunted by an invisible predator. It wasn't just a fight for survival against Michael, it was a test of her will to live amidst overwhelming fear. In the hospital's darkened corridors, Lori had to use everything at her disposal to protect herself. But could she escape death's grip once more when Michael Myers seemed impossible to stop?